Okay guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about this tiny little lens here, and it is the Micro Four Thirds Lumix 14 to 45 lens. Let's get straight into the intro. So just a little backstory about this particular lens. I bought this GH5 Mark II here recently, and when I got my hands on it, I actually did not have any lens in attachment to this particular camera. So I needed some sort of lens in order to get everything going. I mean, just to start up everything. So this happens to be a kit lens for the Panasonic Lumix series. I'm not sure if it actually comes with the GH4 or the GH5, but I do know that it's a kit lens for the GH series. I've actually used this particular lens in different scenarios. I've shot, some minor B-rolls with it. I've shot a few photos with it as well. I've done YouTube videos like this as well. I think almost most of the 3, 4, 5 videos on the channel was probably shot on this particular lens. So yeah, I think when it comes to wide angle lenses, when it comes to wide angle shots, this is the lens that I use with this particular camera, simply because I do have the EF lens, the 17 to 40, but unfortunately it does not work with the speed booster of this particular camera. So I'm not gonna say it is a beast of a lens. Grab this lens if ever you need the king of bokeh and all that. That's not the case, but I just like the fact that it is a 14 to 45. That is not wide enough, especially when it comes to the Micro Four Thirds series. 14, you're getting somewhere, is it 28 or so? So it's not really as wide as it states on the lens, unless maybe you are getting something of 8mm or 10mm. Yeah, maybe that might be a little bit better. So with this particular lens, I think the few advantages that I love about, should we start with advantages or the disadvantages? Let's just go with the advantages. So with the advantages of this lens, I like the fact that it is tiny. Let me actually take it off from the camera. I hate this. You know, Okay, so this is the lens here, and as you guys can see, it is very tiny. I've had lenses in the past. I've used a lot of EF lenses. I've used a bit of Cine lenses as well. But comparing this lens to most of the lenses that I've used, it is very tiny. And I think it actually shares the same weight and size with the Helios 442. Yeah, I once had the Helios version, and it's kind of similar to this, but then I think the Helios is a little bit bigger and maybe heavier than this one. Since I've actually had this particular lens, I would say that it has pretty much done most of the jobs that I wanted it to do, and I like the fact that the autofocus works fine on this version. You guys do know that with Panasonic Lumix, Micro Four Thirds, their autofocus sucks, let me put it that way, unless recently they started implementing the face detect. So with this particular one, the autofocus is okay, and I actually shot some B-rolls with it fully autofocused, and it did the job okay. And I think it all depends on the frame rates that you are shooting at. Once again, if you are using the Lumix GH5 Mark II and you shoot anything below 30 frames, you're going to get the pause, heavily. But then if you shoot anywhere from 30 frames and above, I think it does much better compared to shooting lesser than 30. I do like the fact that it is very tiny. I can even put this in my pocket and there should be no problems with that. It does have an IS, okay? It is very rare to find a lens of this size which got an IBIS. So when I got it, I was quite surprised because there is an IS button here and there is no AF button, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So with this IS button, it's written Mega OIS, which I'm not sure what the O stands for. When you pair it with this camera, it's obviously you guys do know that the GH series is their image stabilization is just on another level. It's just that good. Yeah, so when you even turn this on, I mean, there should be no problems. I'm sure even if they raise you up and drop you on the floor, you won't get any shaky footage. Another thing that I actually love about the lens is the fact that it's got a metal mount. And being a Canon user for several years, I do know that when it comes to such budget cheap lenses like this, especially with the kit lens, manufacturers don't normally put a lot of effort into it in building it. I mean, they don't even have time for that. Let's take for instance the Canon 1855 for an example, and you guys do know how that actually feels. You guys do know how it looks. It is a cheap belt, and with the 1855 it does have a rubber mount, so most of the time they do break when you try to mount it on a camera. Sometimes when it falls they don't survive and all that, but with this particular one it does have a metal mount, and I kind of like that, even though it's cheap. But then they did not make the lens so cheap looking. Yeah, I don't know if you guys do get me. They do have two types of this particular lens, the 1445. I think there's a first generation and then there's this one. When I was trying to pick it up, I did a bit of inquiries and they seem to have two versions of this. So the first one, I think it does not have the IS, and that is the first generation, and then this one does have the IS on it. So I think you should maybe do a bit of research if ever you want to pick it up, and the only way to notice the difference is the color. So I think with the first generation it does not have this brown thing here. I think that one is actually white or so. I can't really recall, but then I believe there is two types of this. Same focal length, but I think the year interval is different. So yeah, that is it about the advantages about this particular lens. And the disadvantages, let me just cut it straight and fast. This lens here does give your camera a crop. I know it sounds ridiculous, but then I also didn't know about that. I was so surprised when I noticed. So when you put this lens on your camera, your GH series, and your camera already have, I mean, an in-body image stabilization. I mean, you guys do know that with the GH series, when you put the IS on, they don't give you crop. But then when you put this lens on, it zooms in a little bit, not so much, just minor zoom, which you need to pay a little bit of attention to notice. But then it is still a zoom. I mean, come on, Lumix. This camera is already 2 times crop. We're talking about a massive crop on the sensor. Micro Four Third, it's a huge crop. And then you are giving us a lens, which we thought, okay, in-body image stabilization. We love that. Why still give us a crop though? I just don't know why, but then I think that is just to enable or activate extra, I mean, IS on it. So you know how the image stabilization normally works. They have to at least zoom in a little bit. I think if they didn't do that, the edges would be shaky. So I just don't know the general, I mean, idea behind it, but then it's something that I think you guys should know about this lens. When you put the IS on, it's going to give you a crop. Yeah, very sad, but it is what it is. But I mean, that's not it's not a must. It's not something that you need to activate all the time, especially when you're shooting this type of videos. You don't even need it, and the camera already gives you, I mean, an in-body image stabilization. So I think you most of the times don't need to activate it, unless if you really want to get that extra smooth footage, then I think you should activate it. Another thing that I will list on is the size. Remember, I stated that this is an advantage, but then sometimes it becomes a disadvantage because my filter threads, my step up rings, and the filter that I use are actually bigger. I think I normally prefer that mount to be at least 77 or at least 60 something, yeah, somewhere there. But then this is 52. I know it's not that of a big deal. It's nothing really, I mean, nothing to really debate about, but I thought I mentioned, especially for people who want a bigger thread sizes and all that. So it's a small lens, so you can definitely expect a bigger thread size. You know what's funny, guys? 7D sucks. I keep saying this, but trust me, if ever you want to get the Canon 7D right now, I would say give the money to your girlfriend. It's much better. So the main reason why I'm saying this is because I was actually shooting and I had to pause, change battery, and reshoot again. The camera just went off. You know, the funny thing is I can't even see what I'm shooting, so I was just playing a guessing game. But anyway, that's just out of the equation. So yeah, the lens still here on the lens, and for people who want to know a little tech specifications about this lens, I'm someone that I don't really care about those factors. Yeah, I do know that there are some reviewers that will talk about the aperture blades, the sharpness, and all that. I don't really go for all those numbers because, firstly, I feel like lens manufacturer or camera companies these days cannot be trusted. I mean, they can put all those figures out there, but then if you are someone that have used the lens and you like the overall performance, I don't think those things should actually trigger your feelings or pull your attention. I don't care about numbers, trust me. So yeah, it's an okay lens, like I said. And I think another thing that I would like to tap on will have to be the fact that the lens extends. Okay, it does have this, when you zoom in, it extends. It does not extend that much, just some minor additional heights to it. And yeah, I mean, being someone that most of my lens, especially the 17 to 40, which I'm currently shooting on, it does not extend when you, when you rack, how do you call it, the focal, how do you even call this? It does not extend when you try to zoom in or out. So that is something that I actually love. But once again, you should understand that this lens is a cheaper lens. Okay, this lens is not a lens that you can actually argue much. I do believe that even if they made this lens f11 to f90, people will still buy it. I mean, for 150 or 200 bucks, you can't really complain that much, yeah. But either way, my final conclusion or my final thoughts about this particular lens is that it does work. Okay, it served the purpose. Once again, I've tested it, I've used it, and I think it is more usable when you do have great lighting. When you're outdoor, much better. If you're indoor, you're going to need a lot of lights, like, I mean, a lot. But then it's not the best. I mean, it's not the best, and it's not the greatest, let me put it that way. But it is a lens, and if you are someone that just need a lens on a go, if you are someone that you just need that one micro four third lens that can give you wide shot, and I mean, this should be fine. You don't even need to think twice. Because when I was buying it, I was actually thinking about several lenses in the market. I think I had the option to go for the 20 mil. I had the option to go for, there were a couple of them in the market, but then the price factor and also what this got to offer really boils down to what I needed the lens for. So overall, I kind of like it. I don't think I'll get rid of it anytime soon, but if ever I will, maybe I will be buying the same one again. And yeah, I mean, anyway, so guys, if you have any questions based on this particular lens, or maybe you own it and you want to give some additional thoughts how it has been treating you, drop it in the comment section. I mean, let's debate, let's talk about it. Let me know how the overall performance is on your side. And yeah, I would actually love to have this lens on a GH4 and GH3 just to see how it performs. I mean, in terms of the autofocus, yeah. But yeah, anyway, guys, let me not waste more of your time. If you are new on the channel, hit on the subscribe button, like this video as well. And yeah, on this channel, I normally talk about cameras, gears, micro four third cameras, Lumix cameras in general, and you will enjoy the type of content I create. So please subscribe, like this video, do all the clickings, and I guess I will see you